I think it's good to start. We have some participants. Can any of the student confirm if I need to speak louder or am I audible clearly?
It's horrible, miss.
Okay, very good. So, welcome everybody to this IGCSE Grade 10 Masterclass. I am Kanchan Mishra and I teach chemistry at Sparkle. Before we begin and dive into our session today, can I request you guys switch on your cameras? It will be an interactive session, so let's turn on our cameras if we can. That's okay if you don't want to. Okay, so today's session, we are going to focus on the understanding of the examination structure, question expectation, and we want you to approach papers with even greater clarity and confidence. So let's look at some of the selected questions from different papers and discuss how we can approach them effectively. This, guys, will not be a full syllabus revision class. Instead, we'll focus on common examination patterns, practical strategies you can apply straight away. So in this session, we'll discover some of the tips and tricks. We'll talk about some of the strategies. We'll also discuss how same question, when it gets asked in different maybe papers or different for different marks, how are we going to answer differently? Okay. As a takeaway, at the end of session, you will be receiving a curated mock examination covering all papers, along with the answer guidance. These are specially curated by the Sparkle teachers and they will be really helpful. So we request you to go through them after our session ends. Now, you guys can unmute yourself and speak whenever you want to if you have any doubts. Are we good to start the session? You can show by the raise of hands. You can maybe say, keep it as interactive
Yes,
as you
ma'am.
can. Very good. Now, let's, so before we even talk about examination, is there any particular thing you focus on before you start preparing? Is there anything, any one of you, like by the very start, having the examination in sight? What's that one thing that you always do?
Understanding the requirements for answer.
Very good. Understanding the requirement of the answers. And you know what the examiner is looking at? Examiner is going to test you for these assessment objectives. When we say assessment objectives are basically, if you look at these three, we start with the conceptual knowledge and understanding. So you read the concept, you know what's there in the concept. That's knowledge, facts, data. Are you able to apply that same data to different scenarios? That's handling information and solving all the calculation, etc. So paper 2, paper 4, both of these super important. Lastly, assessment objective 3 is paper 5, 6, which is experimental skills. You guys must be aware of this paper 5, 6 thing. It's a lab. You have to imagine a lab. You have to utilize all the experimental skills. How much of that is required? This is your guide. Syllabus will be your ultimate guide. Syllabus will be your ultimate boundary. So basically, Cambridge IGCSE provides you with a proper topic list, proper syllabus. You do not have to go anywhere else than the one provided by the Cambridge. These are the 12 chapters. Do you want to tell me which one is that chapter you guys face like maximum struggle in? You're like, I don't like this chapter. Maybe you don't have the affinity for any particular chapter.
Stoichiometry.
Yes,
Organic.
organic. Okay, I can hear a lot of organic. Anaya says stoichiometry. Organic chemistry. Have you read through the topic list of organic chemistry or maybe solved the past year papers? What kind of questions are more complex? The ones which are straight away explanation type or the ones where they want you to dive into some molecule maybe?
Forming the structures.
Unbranched and branched isomers.
Branched and unbranched isomers forming structures. Okay. So these are the ones I think which are understanding part, right? Let's see if we'll be able to tackle all that in this session. And I'm very sure we will be able to. Before we move ahead, let's go through something that you already know. This is what every paper composes of. Paper 2, paper 4, and paper 6. Paper 2 is multiple choice question, and you are not just running a race between accuracy, but also along with the time. You are running a race against time as well. Paper 4, I can assure you, it's like you can see, it's the heavy weightage. It's 80 marks. Paper 6 is invisible lab. Can, by the show of hand, you tell me how many of you think that paper 6 is just very difficult, or maybe you're losing marks in paper 6? Okay. So paper 6 is something that I can see. So in paper 2, now we'll talk about each paper separately and we'll discuss how to approach each paper differently, right? Now our approach should be different and what techniques should we use. Now, since paper 2 multiple choice questions is there, the answer is going to be in front of you. Okay, guys? And the students here at Sparkle can give me a yes that, okay, these are the concepts: periodic properties, bonding and properties, moles and reacting masses, acid alkali test. For example, how many times have you gone through this particular question? Just simple question I'm telling you. Which of the following has the highest melting point? We come across this question quite a lot, right? I think in this format or in some other format, maybe which of the following ionic molecules have maximum force of attraction that's similar to melting point? Yes. So there are repetitions which are really noticed in paper 2. And why have I written these 4 topics here separately? Because these are the ones where there are a lot of facts to remember. Now, guys, in paper 2, we cannot completely rely on figuring out the answer right there always. There are some things that we have to remember as well. Let's talk about the first. Do we have to remember the trend in the boiling point or maybe trend in the densities? Now I'll tell you one thing. You can recall it by moving from atomic size to intermolecular forces to melting point, boiling point. All of that you can do. But in paper 2, are we in a position to figure that out right sitting in that 45 minutes examination? The answer is clearly no, right? We do not have that much of luxury. So what we do instead, we try to compile a short note, maybe the key terms to refer back to, so that we know, okay, size, melting point, boiling point. In case of bonding, types and properties. What are the properties? Properties are whether it's a liquid, solid, or gas at room temperature, whether the reaction is exothermic or endothermic. Moles and reacting masses, yes. In that part, I agree, there is no remembering, but using correct formula and formula. So in moles and reaction masses, stoichiometry basically, you will require a formula sheet handy. So please make a note of it if you have a pen paper ready. Stoichiometry formula sheet is gonna be our savior. We can refer to it more than once. In acid alkalis, guys, the questions are really simple. They won't give you an unknown acid or an unknown alkali. They will give you an acid, they might ask you the pH range. They might ask you a pH range and give you a number of options and maybe match it. Test, for example, color change, super important. Which color change? Color change like bromine water. Does hexane changes the color of bromine water or hexene? Questions like these. Again, these are pretty straightforward. So acid alkali tests are straightforward questions. You won't be confused there, I am pretty sure. But yes, for this, we need to be handy with the data. We need to be handy with every information in the formula sheet. Cool. Paper 4, the maximum weightage paper, like we already told you. In this paper, guys, you have to write points. I'm not saying you have to write a lot of text. When I say points, now how many of you write paragraphs in paper 4 questions? Points, paragraphs. Do we write paragraphs or do we don't write paragraphs? We write points. Okay, sometimes paragraphs. Yes,
Fine.
you were saying? Mm-hmm. Can you say that again? I missed it.
I
Now
said
points.
points.
Yeah.
Points. Very good. So if you're writing paragraphs, Let's try to change that habit. We have got time. We can write a lot of mocks. Write points. When we write points, we know the relevance. So when we write paragraphs, there are a lot of words, but we might miss out on some important things. Because in paper 4, you are not awarded for effort. Guys, you might know the answer. You might put in a long paragraph to explain, but if you don't write the word surface area, let's say, you won't get marks. You know which chapter I'm talking about with respect to surface area? I'm actually talking about,
Rate of reaction.
that's correct. Rate of reaction. Why rate of reaction is higher with powdered calcium chloride? And the answer is greater surface area. You
Ma'am,
write, yes.
ma'am, if there's like a 3 marker, so do
Mhm.
we write 3 points or do we write a paragraph?
Even if in paragraph you're writing 3 distinct points, Arhan, that makes sense. So you, let's say this same question, upon rate of reaction, the question asks you, increasing temperature increases rate of reaction, and you are asked to describe it in 3 marks. Okay, can you tell me which points you'll be writing, or in paragraph also?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question once?
Okay, so the question is, increasing the temperature increases the rate of reaction.
Yes, ma'am.
So 3 marker, 3 distinct points. Can you think of points?
So the average kinetic energy per particle increases.
Yes, point 1.
So there is more collisions between particles.
Okay, you're writing more collisions. I'll talk to you about why there is a problem there. Third point.
They move faster.
No, now moving fast. So when we write paragraphs, that's the point I want to convey. You have in the first line said that, okay, kinetic energy is increasing, right? That's a correct point. When you increase temperature, average kinetic energy increases. But when that increases, collision frequency increases.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, when collision frequency increases, more particles have energy greater than dash energy. What is that?
Activation energy.
So these are the 3 points. And if you look at some marking schemes, you'll realize the marking scheme says only 3 words maybe. Increasing kinetic energy, increasing collision frequency, and activation energy, or molecules crossing activation energy.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
by points, I mean that we try to include all these points, whether in paragraph. With paragraph, there is a very, very easy chance of drifting. You know, we all are English students as well. We have literature, right? So we have a habit of writing long sentences, and the examiner is gonna only refer to the marking scheme. I hope I have made this point clear. So the marks is equal to the number of points. Are we good?
Ma'am, but just one thing,
Mhm.
like based on the number of points, that means do they have to be like well explained points or do they just have to be the statement? Like,
They just have to be the statement. But if the question has mentioned describe, in that describe, you have to maybe put 2 points for explanation.
ma'am, like in this question you asked Arhan, for
Mhm.
example, if you take any one of the points, if it's a 3 marker, would you have to develop like each point that he gave further and give a reason for why the kinetic energy increases and things like that, or just give the 3 points and move on?
No, you do not have to explain. Increasing temperature increases kinetic energy. That's it. You're only required.
Okay.
Okay, then. Do we prepare each chapter separately, or do we focus on some favorites more? By, what do you say? Not by choice, but due to requirement, we have to focus on some chapters more. These are
Favorites.
the favorites, rightly said. Many of you had core organic chemistry as favorite. Some have stoichiometry as favorite. No liking for redox. Why so? No one likes redox. Or is it a easy chapter? That's why we don't like redox.
It's an easy chapter.
Good to hear that. It is an easy chapter. In fact, all of these chapters, if we are able to break through what is needed, right? If you have solved past paper questions. So, for example, in our classes, what we do is, and with my students specifically, for every chapter, every topic, we make sure that we do past paper questions. We don't wait for the whole syllabus to get completed and then come back. at Sparkle, we make sure that every class has understanding concept, which is that part we need to put effort in. We cannot be putting effort anywhere randomly. Now, these are the important or high scoring topics. I'll just say some questions from each topic now. And you guys only have to think that, okay, yes, I have seen that question. We'll start from stoichiometry. And this is much easy. How many of us, we have done that? Calculate the mass or volume of a gas. Identify the limiting reagent. Empirical formula, for example, from the percentage composition. And as a matter of fact, guys, these are the only important parts. Yes, we have. Structure and bonding. Have we come across questions like, explain why ionic compounds have higher melting point than covalent compounds? Then we also have questions like electrical conductivity. Why do we have greater electrical conductivity in ionic compounds? So it's all properties and properties and properties. So the chapter structure and bonding might be very lengthy, but the questions are kind of, won't say repetitive, but circling around a certain area. From acid, alkali, salt. Titration is a very favorite topic of examiner. Somehow, in some form or the other, maybe not writing the word titration, maybe he'll just give you a chemical reaction between HCl and some base KOH. Any reaction between HCl and KOH is nothing but a titration. Just that you're performing it in a beaker or you're performing it in a burette. The difference is only that. Redox and electrolysis, I am so glad that this seems to be an easy chapter, because redox and electrolysis, if you know the concept, you cannot go wrong. You just have to know. The problem with electrolysis is we do not read the question thoroughly. And in the end, we will discuss what are the mistakes generally students make while doing this electrolysis. In rate of reaction, there is a very pet favorite question. Do you want to say any question from rate of reaction that you can remember from the top of your head? If you have solved, sorry?
Those graph-based questions and the exo and endothermic.
Exothermic, endothermic, and graph-based questions, right?
They ask a lot of questions about Haber's process because
They do. Haber process and contact process, yes. They straight away ask you the reaction conditions, right?
yeah, the pressure, temperature, and the catalyst usually.
Yes, pressure, temperature, catalyst. In organic chemistry, do you know there are certain topics which you know are going to be asked, and I'll write those topics and you'll tell me that yes. How many of you have seen fractional distillation in pretty much every question here at Sparkle? Sometimes student gets like irritated also. Why is there every question somewhere or the other involves fractional distillation? Because it's one of the very frequently asked topic as well. Cracking of hydrocarbon. Again, very important. Do we like polymers? Because the question from polymers is also very frequently asked. Polymers is also, students, one topic. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you cannot guess. That's a problem also with polymers, definition wise and everything. So we will talk about core organic chemistry, not like an entire chapter, but we'll split it into various segments. Okay, so now when we prepare, we are going to look at these 6 chapters before any other chapter, because these are our priority focus questions. Okay. Up till now, I've told you many questions. How do you know what kind of answer you are supposed to write? Because you are well aware what an explain means. If I am saying state, 1 mark, are you going to write a paragraph or are you going to write a maybe word or maybe a sentence? State and 1 mark.
Word or
Just a
sentence.
word.
Just a word or sentence. What you're going to answer or what the examiner is going to question lies under 3 categories. The categories, first is recall, means just remembering the definition, remembering the data, remembering the fact. Understanding is describing or explaining. When I say describe or explain, you have to maybe write more, explain more. Application is all those questions where they give you something and in return they ask you, okay, on the basis of this information provided, elaborate, justify, suggest, all of those questions. So let's now try to talk each and every point. State, give, list. All of them. If asked for 1 mark, we are gonna only give 1 sentence max. In many places, you don't even have to give 1 sentence. You just have to maybe just select a word. Describe. When it says describe, focus on data. When I say focus on data, they will have given you some. For example, describe why acetic acid is a weak acid. So you do not write about weak acid, guys. Biggest mistake. You do not write weak acid is this and this. No. We write about acetic acid, what acetic acid is. Acetic acid dissociates partially in water. That's why it is weak acid. Simple. Explain is something you use your logic. You use your logic, you apply your concept, you do write a little more. Suggest again. So if the question tells you to compare between 2 metals and their reactivity, and 2 metals might be, let's say, magnesium and copper. If the 2 metals, guys, is magnesium and copper, and we're talking about the reactivity of magnesium and copper, are we interested in more reactive metal, less reactive metal kind of statement, or are we more interested in magnesium is more reactive than copper? Which statement you will give yourself more marks? Of course, magnesium is more reactive than copper. So whenever it suggests, use logic, but stick to what is given in the question. Do not deviate at all. Next, we have, can you tell me which of the command terms I do not have on my screen right now? You must have done many. Sorry?
Compare.
Compare is again, will come in the application category. Compare is one. What else?
Calculate.
Very good. Calculate. And let me tell you this.
Predict. No, wait.
Predict. Absolutely. Predict. Anybody else? Yes. So calculate, predict, compare. Whenever we see this question called calculate, first of all, it's very highly likely 50 to 70% of chances are there. Calculate question is gonna belong to stoichiometry and mole concept chapter. And guys, if you don't like stoichiometry, my suggestion to you is give it a honest try. This is a scoring chapter. When I say scoring chapter, you have a formula. You need to apply the concept on that formula. You need to identify the data that is given in front of you. There are chances you'll score full and full here calculate question by just using your reading skill. Read the question properly. Write down the data. Don't just rely on the paper itself. My suggestion to you will be, you write down, let's say I am given mass. So I'll write mass, this. I'll write temperature, this. I'll write whatever is given to me. Then I'll proceed. Okay, I have to calculate volume. So I'll write volume and I'll put a question mark. Why we do that? Because now we have segregated that text of the question into concise notes. And then we know the formula. We put in the value. Problem with this question is, and I have seen this a number of times at Sparkle here. Problem is we miss out on very obvious things. Very obvious things like we write volume as 5. Now you guys tell me, can volume be 5?
You need a unit.
We need a unit. Yes.
Centimeter cube.
Centimeter cube. And what if my question specifically writes calculate the volume in liters? then in the end, do I need to calculate in liters?
Yes, ma'am, 1000
Yeah.
centimeter cube is 1 liter.
Yes. Just that step and you'll get the full mark. So be careful of units you are drawing, calculation. Do not calculate in your head. Sometimes we can do that. I'll tell you. If I give you the given mass of oxygen as 32 grams, and I ask you number of moles, how many of you can directly tell me without calculating how many moles are there? Oxygen gas.
Harmless 2.
2.
1 mole.
I was talking about oxygen gas, guys.
Diatomic molecule.
Diatomic molecule. Diatomic molecule, I have to add masses of 2. So you know what was the problem here? If I write 2 mole or 1 mole, even if I do not write step and directly write 1 mole, I won't get 2 marks. 2 marks I'll get when I write formula, I then calculate, okay? And 2 mole also generally student write 2 because question is calculate the moles. Is the unit of moles this or this? Can anybody tell me?
MOL, the second one.
The second one. But of course, if the question is not very specific about the unit, both of it will be correct. Do not miss. That's my only request. Do not miss, and we are good to go, guys. Let's try this question. And in this question from paper 4, do you know which word is my hint or maybe my instruction? How long should I write an answer, or should I write an answer in just letter?
It's written give the letters. You just write A, B, C, D.
You just write A, B, C, D. Do I need to write any explanation for that?
No.
No required. No requirement. So I won't waste time. Next question I have is this. Now, in this question, but just by the look of it, let's try to solve this question together, guys. Okay. Now it's a atom and it's written in a certain fashion. So let's say the atom is X and it's written like this. Do we know what is this number and what is this number?
Atomic number, atomic mass.
Atomic number, atomic mass, yes. The problem one that students do here, as soon as they see sulfur, because we have solved many questions, we have been through rigorous training, we have been through rigorous efforts, instead of like carefully observing what is the mass number, I take mass number of sulfur as 32 because you must have done plenty of questions where mass number was 32, but it's not the case. It's given an isotope. So be careful there. In this case, again, we have a habit of choosing oxygen's mass number as 16. Not done. We can't do that. Neutrons given is 10. Number of proton. What should I put here? What should I put here?
8.
8.
8. And if in a haste, I do not be very careful and
No.
I do not look at this 2 minus. Problem, right?
Yeah.
So be careful. Do not miss the charges on the ion. And if time permits, guys, we can come back and recalculate. We can check our calculations. That's the beauty of all the questions pertaining to calculate. So always come back if you have got time to check your calculations, to recheck your calculations. Just few things to keep in mind, okay?
But the charge will affect the number of electrons, right? Not the number of protons.
Not the number of protons. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And do you know one more thing? Why only number of electrons keep on changing? We never change number of neutrons and number of protons. Where do number of neutrons and protons lie?
Nucleus.
Nucleus. Changing anything in nuclear, guys, is nuclear reaction. Lots of energy is required. We cannot do that. What we can do is remove the electron or maybe add electron. That's it. Now, paper 6. Before moving to paper 6, if you have any doubts with respect to paper 2 and 4, do let me know. Otherwise, we'll move to paper 6. All good? Shall we talk about a question from paper 2 and see if we can apply that knowledge we have till now? Let me explain to you the question. The question is, which statement about the extraction of iron in a blast furnace is correct? I have some responses. I'll give you a few seconds more. You guys can try. Okay. So let's approach this question from, okay, we have answers. Yes. We have some contenders for A, B, C, D all. Okay. So if this question comes to you in your practice session, so let's try to develop a habit of doing question in a certain fashion in our practice session, so that by the time we approach the final examination, we know, and that habit is just inculcated. For example, this question, we have maximum votes for option B. And as a matter of fact, option B is the right answer. Let's see how are we going to approach. And this is same approach we follow at Sparkle while practicing MCQ. First things first, eliminate the option which is definitely wrong. And that will be a very obvious option. Just read out those. And the question is about extraction of blast furnace, guys. Bauxite. Bauxite is the ore of aluminum. What's the ore of iron?
Hematite.
Hematite. Very good. So the last option is rejected because bauxite is not the ore of iron, so it can't be in this question. Now I have a rough idea why you would have selected option 3. But read the statement. The examiner tried to confuse you. Iron 3 oxide is reduced to iron. Till now, the statement has no problem. But as soon as it says reduced to iron by carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. Very good. Very good, guys. Carbon monoxide is the reducing agent. That is gone. Calcium oxide reacts with the basic impurities. This is something which is there in another chapter of metal non-metal oxides. Calcium oxide, guys, being a metal oxide. Metal oxides, acidic, basic.
Basic.
Metal oxides are basic. Basic oxides react with acids. So basic oxides will not react with basic impurities. Why is the second option left? Because that is correct now. And also, individually, why is that correct? Blast furnace operates at a very high temperature. Carbon is burnt to provide heat. What is that burnt to provide? Is nothing but carbon reacting with oxygen, guys, to form carbon dioxide. So the second part is nothing but a reaction of blast furnace. C plus. What was the reaction? Do you recall seeing that reaction, bacha? CO2. This is a highly exothermic reaction. So while attempting an MCQ, keep in mind to eliminate the obviously wrong answers, then try to figure out. And try to match words. Sometimes that also helps, but carefully, okay? Paper 6 now. Paper 6 is where you have to imagine that you're present in a lab. You have to think like a chemist. While paper 3 is very organized paper because there are set questions. You have a question which is plan and investigation. You have a question in which you'll be provided with some data and you'll have to figure that out. Right? Now, how many of you while solving these questions, commit a mistake in forgetting that significant figure is important. How is that important? Let's see. So if the question gives you a burette and there are many values, if all the values are till 2 decimal places, so can I maybe report the final answer? Anything. It may be a volume, it may be an average volume. Can I report it to this? And you know why students end up reporting it like this? Because their calculator had shown that the value is this. That's the problem. So be careful of how many decimal points the data is given. Stick to that. Do not change.
What if in the question there are multiple like decimal points, like one, like the values for example, the burette readings are to 2 decimal places, but then for temperature it's 1, and you're being asked a different value. So how do you decide how much to put it at?
Whenever it's a temperature, there is no significant figure. We do not refer to significant figures in a temperature. Temperature is measured using an instrument, first of all. So for our IGCSE paper, whenever we talk about significant figures, stick to the values of volume, masses. And when I say mass, of course, I mean molecular mass as well, or atomic mass. And let's say in mass, they have given different values to your question only. Let's say somewhere they have written 0.50, somewhere they have written 0.1, somewhere they have written 0.239. All of these are different, right? That won't be the case, first of all. The questionnaire will not give you this. But let's say this is. You go with the least significant figure.
The least significant. Okay, fine.
Report it with the least, yes. And another mistake that I have found in my proctor test when I was checking. If this is a clock, guys, okay? The clock starts from 0. You know what happens? Once the clock completes full circle, then again goes here, this part. It is not 15 seconds. How much is it? Is it 1 minute, 15 seconds?
Yeah.
Common mistake?
75 seconds.
Absolutely, 75 seconds. So we'll try to not do all of these mistakes. This is one standard question of plan and investigation, for example. In this whole question, again, I have seen paragraphs, and with a heavy heart, I have to give like 3 marks or something for the paragraph I also don't like. But then I cannot give you the marks unless you have included everything in this respect. In this respect, yes.
So, ma'am, in this also we have to give it points.
You can give a paragraph, Bachan. See,
Okay.
here it's not a hard and fast rule, but try to include all these points in your paragraph. And preferably, if you write headings, it's easier for you to analyze whether you have missed something or not. So if I write aim, I'll be writing clearly whatever is given in the question. I'll come back to the question and I'll give you a set of apparatus that the student has written. You tell me whether that is complete or not. The apparatus given by the student is first beaker, chromatography paper, then pencil and ruler, am I missing something?
A glass lid.
Okay, glass lid.
And also in materials, a solvent.
Very good. We are missing solvent. Do you know a very, very clear-cut problem? We always forget the hero of our question. We always miss whatever is given in my question. So do not miss the reagent, the chemical. Not just the chemical you'll be using to solve the experiment, but also the chemical given, the chemical that you're using to carry out the experiment. Another common mistake, people forget to write safety instructions. And trust me, in safety instructions, do not invent any hazard, guys. Do not. You have pretty standard safety instructions that you follow. Wear the lab coat, wear the goggles, do not let anything spill, do not inhale. Standard ones are okay. No need to be very creative there. Before moving on to me telling you what are the mistakes, let's try to see some questions and maybe figure out what kind of mistakes that question has. Okay, then. I hope you can see this poll. The question was define activation energy. The student defined activation energy. How many marks will you give the student? Yes, most of you are right. And the student will get 0 marks. But you know what? The student in his head knows activation energy. He knows activation energy is the minimum energy needed for a reaction to happen. So, you know, the problem here was he knew minimum. He just didn't write minimum. Only problem. I have two questions. They are interconnected. I am so happy to see the results. Yes. Okay. So the first question that was there, describe what you observe at the anode. As soon as, guys, you see the word observe, you try to imagine like you're sitting in front of that apparatus, you are sitting in front of that chemical reaction, and literally what you observe is the question. By observing, I cannot know it's a chlorine gas, right? So I cannot write chlorine gas is released. I will have to write what I'm observing. Chlorine gas is a pale yellow colored gas produced, so I'll write pale yellow colored gas produced. Even if that gas was yellow, but the examiner is not asking you which gas. In the second question, yes, the examiner is asking you, identify the gas produced. But you identify the gas, then chlorine is the right answer. Most of you knew about it, and for a teacher, nothing is more better than knowing what is not right. What else are the common mistakes that we are gonna avoid? We are not gonna afford missing that not, least, most, explain. So we won't not read the question properly. Read the question properly. Spend a minute properly. Command terms. If it's written why, explain, give it a shot. If it's written fact, do not waste time, guys. No need to waste time. If it's written state, give, identify, just name it and be done with it. Using proper chemistry language. In the question just now, we said, if it was a carbon dioxide produced in a solution, we say effervescence. We not say gas released. Precipitate, for example. I will not get marks if I write barium sulfate deposited at the bottom. I will not get marks. Trust me, that is the correct answer. But unless I write the term precipitate, I will not get the marks, right? In table, this is a very, very crucial point. If the table, guys, is about okay, let me just write that down. If the table is about hexene and hexane, and it's a paper 4 question, can I refer to alkene in my answer? Those of you who think I can, you can raise your hand. Can I write alkene if the question specifically says hexane? I cannot write at all. So be specific to what is given in the question. Do not miss out on that. Let's see if we have some other. You can write all the correct points, but if you don't write it clearly and legibly, bacha, you lose marks. Never do that. Do not rush through writing. So it's better to be organized in a paper. And that's why at Sparkle, we suggest this to pretty much every class. Before going in the paper itself, do the monthly test, do the proctor test, do as many papers as you can, because then your mind is habitual of working efficiently under pressure. We cannot just sit in the paper and tell our brains that, okay, now you perform better under pressure. No, it won't. Be habitual of working in a timed frame like a paper. While using the calculation sort of questions, make sure that you are properly putting every formula, explaining every step. If the question says show your working, even let's say the question does not tell you show your working, but it's a 4-marker question. That's a hint. Marking scheme, command terms, these are the hints examiner is communicating you with. Be careful of marking scheme, be careful of command terms. And you will be through very easily. Let's now explore some of the mistakes we do. This is which of these sections do you personally tend to rush or forget in planning question? Planning question, which part do you forget always? Can you see the question in front of you?
No.
8, ma'am. Being specific.
Being specific, okay. Do we forget the safety safety precautions?
Yeah, often.
Safety precaution. That's why I am suggesting you always before proceeding, write the pointers and it'll be good. Now, you tell me, is there any common mistake that you do and you want us to figure that out? How to not do that? Any common mistake?
Like missing out key points
Missing out key points
in paper 4.
in paper 4. Okay, yes, and that is very harmful in terms of marks as well. Yes,
Yeah.
missing out key points. Any other common mistake, guys? I have shared a question. Can you give it a try and decide why is that not a right answer? Alkene changes color, but alkane does not. So in this answer, all of us, and in fact from the data also it's clear, all of us agree that it's not a wrong observation. But this is not how we describe the test, describe the chemical test.
Yeah, and there's also missing reagent. So the
Yes.
bromine, aqueous bromine is missing. No,
Yes.
wait, bromine, yeah.
2 marks, especially because it's 2 mark, you have to say that, okay, it is bromine water test 1, and the observation is, what should be the ideal observation, guys?
That hexene, that
No.
with hexene it will go colorless. But with hexane it will remain yellowish, yellow brown.
Okay, so the yellow brown thing is gonna save you from marks. If you just write, it goes colorless with hexane. No. So we always write what's the change? It decolorizes the bromine water from orange, brown, or yellow. Now, the problem that you guys expressed was we miss out on the key terms. For example, if it says define or describe, specially define, and I cannot emphasize this enough, how many times students lose marks in define. Define is such a scoring question. As soon as I see define in my head, I think, okay, the students must be scoring very good here. What is this? This is a learner's guide shared by Cambridge. This is a revision checklist. Okay. In the learner's guide, we all have that. Revision checklist is basically a guide where you keep track of how much you have revised, how much is yet. So red, amber, green, all of these students is the topic that you are very confident in. So green. Amber, you maybe need to revisit the concept slightly. And the red one is something you need to study again, maybe. Clearly, you might have to ask your teachers again. Let's take an example of chemical energetics. Now, in for every chapter, guys, this is a very elaborate revision list provided by Cambridge, and this is what is gonna be your hands-on Bible for examination. Topic 1 is exothermic endothermic reactions, and read the first line. The first line says, state the exothermic reaction transfers thermal energy to the surroundings, leading to increase in the temperature of surrounding. Guys, whenever the question says define exothermic reaction, this is what they're looking at. This is what they're looking for. And what is something that we miss out always? To the surrounding. Such a common thing. We always miss to the surrounding and lose marks. We don't have to do that. Transfers thermal energy, full stop, incomplete sentence, transfers thermal energy to the surrounding. Point number 2 is define endothermic. And we don't have to be worried about so many sentences. Point 1, point 2 is absolutely the same. Only the fact is twisted for each. Reaction pathways showing endothermic, exothermic reaction. In a reaction pathway, if let's say this is a reaction pathway, this is product, this is reactant, I have marked this as delta H, I have marked this as activation energy. I still let's say it's a 4 marker, I still will lose 2 marks. Can anyone tell me why and where?
The activation
Axis
energy.
list. Ma'am, you didn't label the axes of the thing. I think.
Yes. Activation energy I have done here.
Oh, yeah.
So without axis, this graph has absolutely no meaning, right? So we have to write on the y-axis energy because we are talking about energy. On the x-axis, you can write reaction coordinate or progress of reaction. It's up to you. But make sure to write. Do not, and as a habit, not just for chemistry, for in general for sciences, as a habit, when you draw lines, write the axis first of all before proceeding to anything else. That should be our first thing. Rest, define activation energy. We just saw a question how not writing minimum cost marks. It should be labeled. You should label everything clearly and correctly. So correctly, clearly, both are gonna save you. Refer to the revision guide. Start preparing for every chapter, keeping in mind what paper is it more likely to appear in. So paper 4 has many questions from environmental chemistry. How many of us, we forget environmental chemistry and we just keep it for maybe later time? Don't do that. So it's easy chapter. We should not do that. Can we try this question, guys? This poll? Absolutely. So I can see some of A's and B's. Okay, so my suggestion to you will be, if you are losing time or losing marks in misreading or ignoring the command term, make a habit of solving a lot of questions. We will be sharing paper also with you, so you might give it a try. You might solve it, and through email you can revert it to us. We'll help you there. If you are yes.
Okay, Kanchan, you can finish, and then I would want the email IDs of the students so that we can send them the mocks.
Yes. Guys, you can share through chat, I think, ma'am.
I'm launching a poll.
Mm-hmm.
Just a second. So I think the students have got a poll for email IDs. Guys, please enter your email IDs where we can send the mocks. Thank you for being such a lovely audience, everyone. And thank you, Kanchan ma'am, for a very insightful session.
Pleasure. And also, guys, by the time you're entering your email IDs, we've got many other helping hands for your examination. This is our schedule. You will be provided the Zoom link. You can join, and teachers will be more than happy to help you. Come with questions, come with your doubts, and hopefully we'll excel this exam.
Thank you.
This is the upcoming schedule also. Children, you can check for the upcoming master classes for physics, English, math, bio, and English literature. Please do join. And I think 2-3 students are still left to enter their email IDs. Please do that. 2 students are still left.
Ma'am, where can we get this PPT?
You can get this. We'll send you on your
Okay.
email ID. Okay, I think we've received the email IDs of all of you.
Also,
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
these
ma'am.
are the details if you want to reach out to us. Thank you so much, everybody. Please
Okay.
take care
Good evening.
and all the very best. Thank you so much.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.